Gang, welcome back. Second Opinionated, the queen of second opinions, is back in the house on this fine Wednesday in the new year. And I say this every year, new year, new me, for real. I just keep growing like a weed, blossoming like a flower. Ain't dead yet. I know it's going to happen. I could care less because I'm busy living versus busy dying. So I am tired of saying Happy New Year, too. My line this year is have whatever kind of a year you want to have. Okay? Name it, claim it. Happy is overrated, number one. It's also occasional, number two. In the meantime, tonight, Carl, my partner in crime.
Yo.
My partner in crime, I'm so glad you're here.
Happy have it whatever year you need to have.
There you go. Decide it as you go. Yeah, tonight, gonna go some places because we're gonna get into relationships, but in a particular kind of way. And just to remind some of you and tell some of you newbies that I have a history as a clinical therapist of now 45 years. And I've been on the planet a lot more years than that. If you need to know the exact age, go to the website secondopinionated.com. I own it there. But see, I'm busy living through my spirit's age, and she's 45. So that's the only age I ever really want to claim. And it's working for me. In the meantime, though, in my professional life as a clinical therapist, I've done a lot of things. But the specialty that I've had is working with couples. So I've called myself a couples specialist. Actually had a radio show a long time ago where they called me the love goddess. So the point is, I know some things, and more importantly, I've lived some things because I love men. Thank you, Five Brothers. You trained me very well. How to banter with guys, how to get along with guys, how to relate to guys. No wonder the military contracts that I've been on for a total of 15 years were a big part because it heavily dominated by men. Enough said. Tonight's focus, here's the title, Carl. Breaking up. Is it hard to do? Question mark. Now, some of you who are in the third act like me, that's anybody over 60, you might remember a song back in the 60s by Neil Sedaka called Breaking Up is Hard to Do. He didn't turn it into a question, he made it a statement. Well, we're going to examine that because sometimes it's exactly what needs to happen. It is what the doctor ordered. Let's get these two apart. They've done whatever they were meant to do together and the expiration date has arrived. But it is interesting to talk and examine all the different ways that people, in this case couples, end relationships and the purpose behind the breakup. So that's what we're going to talk about. Again, just to reintroduce myself, Meg Higgins, Queen of Second Opinions. Got my website, secondopinionated.com. Go check me out. I'm here on Facebook. Hi, Facebook. Hope you miss me. We're back. Got some new equipment. See, I'm backing this thing up, Carl.
Oh, I can't wait to show them.
I can't wait to show. Okay. So, I'm doing my best since I'm now back on the airwaves to kind of keep one foot in the water of what's happening in the world, and especially with regards to personal growth, self-actualization, or in this case, relationships. And I absolutely understand now more than ever. I think that's one of the biggest reasons why I ended up not only as a therapist, but focusing more on human behavior and especially couples, because I'm one of 10 children. And I may call myself the queen of second opinions, but I think I was a queen back in my childhood because I knew how to navigate all the different personality types that existed under that one roof. So, the trend that people are talking about, and I have Carl to thank. Carl tipped me off to this. Meg, do you know what the latest thing is in relationships? What that? The no contact rule. Uh-huh. I'm like, well, what does that mean? Well, it means when a breakup happens, one or both parties sign on to the best of their ability to have no contact with the former, whether it's lover, girlfriend, boyfriend, partner, I don't care what you want to call them. Even in a situationship, that could happen. Anytime you sever something between two people, we call that an end. But you know what I think is interesting? See, my friends have been telling me for some time, they love me, but they're also annoyed with me because I'm a bit of a wordsmith. I kind of hang on people's words and what words they choose to use to describe anything. Now, that's partly because as a therapist, you're taught to really engage in a listening way where you really want to hang on to what did that person, because everyone has their own dictionary. We may use some of the same words, but honey babe, behind that word is a very personal meaning, right? So we talk about breakup, but what I think a lot of times is what a therapist friend of mine said to me, which was, Meg, everything has an expiration date. Every relationship is designed to end. Whether it's through divorce or death, those are the two more frequent, they're going to end. So isn't it interesting that a lot of people get all riled up around a breakup versus this just is a time where we've gone as far as we were meant to go as a couple. We got what we were meant to get out of it. In other words, we're parting ways. So I believe how people respond to an ending begins with how they're framing it in their mind. And it also totally starts with, are you the dumpy or the dumper? That will clearly begin to chart the course of how rocky or bumpy this post-relationship life is going to be. So it even starts there. How do you see it and what are you calling it? And I've got some examples from my life tonight because you know I'm a self-disclosing therapist. I love that. That's part of my style. I like to let my clients know, honey, babe, I'm not better than you. I don't know anymore. Well, I know some things, but they're coming from my training, which is different. But all my knowledge has been from the streets, and I'm a street person. And Carl, don't read anything else into that, okay?
Listen, it's a new year. We don't judge.
That's right. There we go. So let me go back and be technical because this is what was written in some place I went to. The no contact rule is exactly what it sounds like. You cut off all communication with your honey. I still like to call my former husband at times my honey because he was my honey. He didn't start off being anything but my honey. Now, he may have become an asshole later, but that's okay. I'll always remember him as my honey first. So you cut off all communication with your ex. And, you know, this is the other thing.
Yeah.
See, I'm a stickler for words. When I ended my long-term marriage over 30 some odd years, one of the first decisions I made, which I think is interesting, that I am not going to refer to him as my ex. And I was talking about this with the guy not long ago that I was actually dating. He was struck by that. He's like, wow, that's so intentional. I said, thank you for noticing. It is. First off, I don't typically like to use a lot of the words that everybody on the streets is using. I like to be a little bit more original, so that's part of it. There's a little bit of my ego in that. But the reality was I said ex. When I hear that word ex, and Carl, when you hear that word, what do you think of?
I mean, you know, and it's so crazy that you say that because whenever you put an X in front of something, you're killing it, basically.
That's it. It's null, it's void, it never existed. That's what I believe the term ex means. You're dead to me. Well, first off, my former husband is still very much alive. He's not dead in the real sense. But more importantly, I suspect strongly that one of the biggest reasons why I would not use that word was because we were together for 3 decades. That's not chump change. We didn't produce a child, we adopted our son. So we added another human being to our family constellation. So to me, the word ex is you didn't exist, you're dead to me. It usually is coming out of anger and ego, quite frankly. I'm better than, I don't need you. So there's a lot of tripping going on around that. And I was like, no, I'm not angry. I'm just angry at some things that occurred. But it's one thing to be mad about an event, a situation, versus to be so mad at someone that I now pronounce you dead to me. You don't exist. I also feel like had I adopted that word, literally, I would be disrespecting our son. And I'm not going to do that. He gets to have his own perception, his own image of his father. That's his. I get to have mine. So I use the word former. And what's interesting, because it's now been 6 years that we've been apart, the number of people who have noticed, you don't use the word ex. And I'm like, that's right. Is also for me another way to respect that we both invested that much time into a loving connection. But I go back to my therapist friend who said, Meg, everything's going to end. So there you have it. So back to the no contact. This means no text messages. Of course, let's see, I remember back in the day texting didn't exist. No phone calls. No social media interactions. Ooh, that's asking a lot. In other words, no form of contact, be it direct or indirect. And according to many people who are promoting this concept, this no contact rule is designed to help you resist the urge to reach out, to keep some type of communication or contact with the other. I'm not so sure about that. So here's what I was thinking about. There's so many variables. In other words, it's really nice to set this new trend. And I'm not a big fan of trends, not a big fan of fads. Some things come and go. Some things will last quite a bit of time. I'm sure maybe, not maybe, Meg, don't say maybe when you don't mean it. You know, I was born in Missouri. And what do we call Missouri, Carl?
Show me state.
Show me state, which is just a fancy way of saying I'm skeptical and you got to prove your point to me. Or as other people saying, seeing is believing. Okay, well, when it comes to this no contact rule, it's really nice for someone to promote that. But what I've come to realize, more so as a therapist of 45 years, one size does not fit all. Not at all. And I'm gonna just to prove that point, I'm gonna take you into a slice of my life. So there I was, back in my 30s. And I laid my eyes on this man, and he laid his eyes on me. Names shall not be spoken, because if he's still around, I don't want to know it. I doubt it, because he was 10 years older than me. But the point is, I mean, you know, it's, remember I did the show on lust and limerence and love and all that. Oh my God, I took one look at him and I was like, oh, I melted. I remember that. The point is, we started seeing each other. We sure did. And let's see, how do I want to say this? It was pretty hot. It was very stimulating. But in other words, we fell in lust first, and then we actually did start to move into the love vortex, which is where the listening and the discussing and negotiating, and they use compromise. I don't like that word. But looking for the relationship to win. In other words, you know, I would maybe adjust something. He would match me with that. so the point is, we became a couple. And we were, oh God, see, this is a little fuzzy, folks, but I would say we probably put in a good year and a half. And we were exclusive. And then he decided to dump me. And Carl, this was back in he literally wrote me a letter. He wrote a 3-page letter, put it in the mail, and sent it to my apartment as his way of breaking up. And they call it Dear John, but what the hell do they call it when it's from the guy to the woman?
Jane?
Is that it? We'll call it Jane. So he wrote me a Dear Jane letter. And this letter, I'm going to tell you something. I won't go into... He might as well have put me in a trash bag and put me out of the dumpster. I mean, he put in writing all the things that he did not like about me. And I'm going, wait a minute, we just did a year and a half, and I thought this was rocking and rolling. But see, you never know what's going on underneath.
Perception is reality.
That's right. And he just let me have it. And I'm going to tell you something. It was bad enough that he was ending it, right? But this is the part that really hurt more. It was to see something in writing, written by someone that you love, and especially, by far, hands down, sorry, some of you other guys in my life, including former husband, best sex in the world. Best sex in the world! Oh! And I look back, the point is, I'm sure what the sting was that he put in writing all the ways I screwed up, all the things that he lost his respect for me. What it doesn't even matter. But it does matter in the context of, is breaking up hard to do? It wasn't for him.
And you know what, Meg?
He did it with the greatest of ease.
He didn't put any emojis in that, did he? So you didn't really know. If he would have did it in person, it would have been way better, I'm sure.
Well, don't even get me started. Yeah, because in an ideal world, that's really how it needs to happen. It really does. I don't care, but I say ideal world. That's the most grown-up thing, is where each party, it could be one person's decision. It could be the dumper telling the dumpy, we're done. But there's something that you just cannot deny. But see, what got triggered for me in this letter, I wanted to defend. That's not true. No, he doesn't really mean that. So it was interesting. It's better than ghosting, and that's the word that people use now, where they just fade away. That, to me, if I could outlaw that, if you had to pay a fine, if the police came and found you, and you had to pay money for every person you just kind of faded away. And I'm not talking after one date, but I'm talking if you put in, I'll say a minimum of 6 months of time. See each other every week for a period of 6 months, and you just fade? Whatever. But back to the letter. I think that was part of the problem, was that I got hung up in this, I need to defend myself. I need to explain myself. I need to justify. And so guess what I did, Carl?
What'd you do?
Oh, honey, I became a quasi-stalker. I have never done this before. It was a one-time thing, but this tells me just how hooked I was on this guy. That it wasn't grown-up, mature love. He was almost like a drug for me, because he represented a type of guy I'd never had. He was macho. He was tall, and I'm a little midget. He was tall. I had never been in the company of some man that tall. And come on, ladies, he was good looking. So he had all those things. Seduction, it was like, I got to have more of you. I cannot not have you. And I remember thinking that, I cannot not have him. So, again, this is before texting and all that. So I went all out. I got him. And we lived in 2 different parts of town. I mean, this was a drive. But sure enough, I missed this guy so much. Nah, not really. I missed what I thought we had. And I also missed the good sex. I'll be the first one to admit that. I get in my car after work, and drive in his neighborhood, not necessarily by his house. And this is creepy, folks. I own it. But good news is I did that once and I was done. Never did that again. And I put that under some serious examination with my therapist. Thank you, Jackie. But I would drive in his hood hoping, I'd see him somehow, some way. And that's what I told myself. I just want to see him again. So that no contact rule, we weren't in contact, right? But what I think is interesting was he was not in contact. He dumped me. And I don't think it was a stretch or a challenge for him to not call me at all. But as the dumpy, well, that just didn't set well with me. And part of that's my ego. But part of it is, oh my God, I'm not going to get my fix again. Holy jamoli. And you know what got me through? Back in those days, let me see, there was a book that came out. Oh, I didn't think to research this, Carl. Maybe you can see. It was something about, it was about being addicted to love. And what's that song by Robert, is it Palmer, Addicted to Love? There's literally, I love that song. But it was a book on love addiction. And it was hot off the presses, and I read it, and oh my God, this woman, whatever the author's name is, and I think this still holds up in terms of similar to the no contact rule. Her thing was, and this is what I've told my therapy clients.
What year, Meg?
Oh, well, honey, I don't know. You're going to make me own the year. Let's see. When did I? It was in the 80s. In the 80s.
Okay.
It was in the 80s. Thank you.
Right.
But it had something word love addiction. But she got very prescriptive about, how do you get over somebody? No contact is one thing. That's part of getting over somebody for some people. But in this case, I knew if I was willing to get my car and drive clear across town and peruse his neighborhood, honey, babe, that ain't cool. And that's when I knew I was in trouble. You seen anything?
Robin Norwood, does that ring a bell?
It doesn't, but I don't know that I remember the author so much as the title.
Woman Who Loved Too Much.
No.
Codependent No More.
No, see, but that's back in that era. See, her book I remember this about her book. I loved it, but it didn't get a lot of sales behind it. It didn't really, take. Like the Codependent No More is huge. I remember that one. But either which way, what I liked about what she put in the book was trying to get over somebody. When you feel the urge, and in my case, the urge was to get in my car and drive clear across town. For some other people, the urge nowadays would be to peruse their Facebook page or their Instagram or to talk to a friend of theirs or to maybe show up at the same bar they might frequent. I mean, there's all these different touch points. But her strongest piece of advice was when you feel the urge rather than doing whatever the thing is you would do to kind of stay connected or have some sense of connection with them, contact, call somebody else. In other words, if I wanted to call him, call Mary, call my friend Mary. If I wanted to get in my car and go to the 7-Eleven. Act on something, but not the thing that you know is detrimental. Because her point was, we as human beings have the power to gather so much emotion around something that, well, now what do I do with this emotion? I'm all jacked up. And that lends itself to the acting. So she was like, do something else. Act, but not that particular thing. Now I'm going to fast forward to my marriage. I decided to end the marriage. And I love how you can connect some things. So here it is, all these, now this is 40 some odd years later. I made the decision, and the next day I went, oh shit, how am I gonna do this? How am I not gonna have contact with my husband while I'm still living with him until I can find another place to live? And that took 4 to 5 months. So what I started doing was staying out of the house as much as I could, even dining other places, even crashing at friends' couches. What do they call that? Couch surfing. Did a lot of couch surfing. In other words, physically separate myself. But the other thing I did was I got on the phone, I called my 6 girlfriends, and they were scattered all over the country. I now refer to them as my tribe. I called each one of them up individually and said, I'm going to need you like I've not needed anybody. And every day, I don't know who I'm going to call, but I'm calling somebody every day to just replace some of the connection that I'd had with him historically. And these women knew me really well. So it was like I transferred some of the heart emotional connection over to 6 girlfriends. And I think that was important. If it would have been one friend, wouldn't have sustained it. But I spread myself out to 6 women, and they were all in different time zones, and I got permission. Can I call or text you at any time of the day? And they all signed on. It's so interesting. The point is, one of my mentors said, the mind requires order. And when we decide to stop doing something, and in this case, no contact, we create a vacancy. And the mind, limbic brain, cannot handle ambivalence or vacancy. So when you create a hole, fill it. Fill it. And I've seen many people try to do this no contact, and it's like you'd think they were getting off of a substance. I mean, they were white knuckling it. No, 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 no. Create some type of formula. And in my case, it was a circle of support, or what some people refer to, have an accountability buddy. Say, hey, listen, I'm going to want to call John, but I'm going to call you instead. And would you, more times than not, pick up the phone? So it's interesting. I don't think there's any one answer, but I think what drives it is who's the dumper and who's the dumpy. What's the history of the relationship? How long were you together? How was the power distributed in the relationship? Because if it's a dominant submissive, someone makes all the decisions, and that person is getting dumped, oh, they're not going to be able to do this no contact. No, they've got a long history with you of being in charge. It also is a statement of, was it a surprise? Had you been talking about breaking up? Had anybody, I ask my couples that all the time, anybody thought or said divorce? Ooh, it's interesting. The number of people go, yeah, and then the partner's like, you've thought about it? I didn't know that. It's like, get it all out. We don't, no secrets here, no secrets here. So whatever the intention is, what you hope to create, in my case, and I remember it, and I'm going to close on this. Are we almost done?
We're good.
We're good. Okay. I might have told this story. I don't think so. But listen, I've got some great stories. But they're teaching points, and I've used them as a therapist. When I decided to end the marriage, and it was me, I quickly said, well, you got to get an attorney and get this ball rolling. So I got 4 or 5 names of attorneys in the area, and this is back in California where we lived. And I said, Meg, you got, it's not going to be about their fee, whether I could afford them. I don't care how many years they've got. I'm like, this is a big deal. We now call it the gray divorce. Anybody who's been married for over 30 years and gets divorced, well, I don't have any gray hair. I don't like that word anyway. But I do appreciate the fact that this was over a third of my life. This is almost like getting something surgically removed, whether it's an arm, an amputation, whatever. But I said, no, I gotta come with a really profound question to determine who's going to be on my team. And so the question was this. When I called each attorney, I said, I don't care what your fees are. I don't care about your experience. I want to get this one question. Oh, what's that? Can you work with me without ever using the word divorce? And I remember they were phone calls, the gasp or the pregnant pause. I mean, I could almost, if I had to put a bubble over their head, they'd probably be thinking, what the heck kind of question is that? And if they were silent, if they were taken aback, I said, thank you, bye. And I got to Joe. attorney number 5. And he wanted to give me a spiel. I said, save your spiel. I got one question. Joe, can you work with me without ever using the word divorce? Without skipping a beat, Carl? He says, absolutely. I said, you're my guy. So he was hired, but here's where it gets sweet. So now weeks pass, and it's time for me to meet him in person, because this is just all over the phone. Go to his office a couple of times over. And I knew as soon as I sauntered into that office, I knew he had to know what the heck that question was about. And it was so cool because I read the energy, and he was sitting right there, chomping the bit. Meg, take your seat. Meg. I said, I know what you're going to ask. How do you know that? I said, because I'm a therapist, and I know some things, and I have a great intuit, a great gut. Oh, okay. All right. Well, can I ask? I said, honey, ask whatever you want to ask. Meg, I have never had a client ask me that question. I'm a divorce attorney, for God's sakes, and you want me to work with you without ever using that word? I said, yes, I do. And you said yes. He said, yes, I did. But I want to know what in God's name was behind that question. And here we go, folks. I said, you know what I know? In your world, family law, and in Western culture, when marriages end, we use the word divorce. That is an ending. And I said, yes, there is a third of my life that's ending. There is a part of how I've known myself that's ending. But in my world, I have set this up where I'm taking my life back. I said, so this is a form of liberation. So if you want to use the word liberation, then we will be quite the dynamic duo. I said, see, it all is about words. You want to use divorce? I want to use liberation, because I'm representing, for me, what this is truly about on a much deeper level. But I understand on paper, I'm kicking his ass to the curb. That's what it looks like. So be it. But for me, I'm taking Meg back, and I'm going to love her in ways that she's never been loved. And I got witnesses and lots of evidence. And Carl's one of them.
You got it.
All right. Well, so as far as the no contact rule is, sit with it, because there's a lot of factors. When, how, the history of the relationship, like I said. And more than anything, if there's a breakup, think about if that's really what it is. Is this permanent? Is this forever? Because I think a lot of people put that expectation on it. I know that's what I wanted it to be. I did not want to go back. I was not open to reconciliation. That was huge. But I also knew that that was a lot to ask of myself, especially after that many years in, which is why I built my tribe. And it goes on from there. Every month I come up with a new way of understanding to give myself support. So no contact on paper, good idea. But how you back it up is going to be very dependent on a lot of other factors. And if you're not sure what those are, hey, you may want to reach out to your
secondopinionated.com.
Yeah, I was going to say, you may want to put me on that short path of, because I am positioning myself as a texting therapist. You can sign me up for 5, 10, or 15 minutes by phone or text, because I'm rapid fire. You'd want me on your team. I'll just put it that way. But not so much because of the credentials and the 45 years in, as much as all the things that I have learned in this life. Firsthand, I'm an in-the-trench gal. Okay, holidays are over. New Year is here. Queen of Second Opinions is back. Have a lovely rest of the evening, gang.
I do my hair toss, check my nails. Baby, how you feeling? Hair toss, check